International Energy Agency is saying that if we would like to save on gas and gas prices that are continuing to skyrocket, all we have to do is just slow down a little, just slow down. This follows the precedents in the mid-1970s when energy prices were rising and the average speed limit was reduced by approximately 20 miles per hour. And actually, it did result in a 21% reduction in speed equated to gas consumption. So, if you speed, you waste gas. Also, there is an epidemic of speeding in the United States that is causing lives. But it's still kind of rich to tell people to slow down in order to save on gas when there really is not necessarily a gas shortage and energy companies are still racking in profit hand over fist.
Yeah, you're going to tell me to slow down and not travel this summer because you are price gouging us? I mean, that's literally what's happening. You're making barrels of money. I mean, look at the headlines this morning. If I can pull it up here from, but from CNBC on Saudi Aramco, they are making just unbelievable profits this year, soaring profits on oil prices, higher. Let's see, up 124%. 124% profits
to $110 billion compared to 2021. So in 2020, this company, the Saudi oil company, made just $49 billion. Peanuts, right? But last year they made $110 billion. So more than doubling their profits. But yet we are made to think that there's a scarcity problem, that there's a supply and demand problem, that they have to overcharge us because of global conflict. It doesn't really make sense when you look at the reserves and you look at the prices of the oil companies. Who's hurting here? Not them. Consumers, certainly. We see companies having to raise their prices. Economists seem to say that as prices go up, consumption will eventually go down, which does seem to be the case, but so slightly, right? It just doesn't seem to be correcting itself as people are making the choices maybe to not use as much gas, not go out as often. But that is sort of what the marching orders are right now, is just consume less because we have to. Although I will say, yes, it's rich for sort of, the media and Western elites to say that, but also it is, of course, better for the planet. No combustible fuels in the atmosphere, using less fossil fuels, and also just sort of slowing down to save lives. It's generally very good advice. We just sort of feel like the intention with which it's delivered is a little bit hypocritical.
A little bit. I mean, here's what they're saying. These elites are telling you, do not travel this summer and slow down. That's what they're telling us. That's what elites are telling people, even while they're sitting on massive amounts of profit. This is, again, we get screwed. The average American gets screwed in this entire process. You're being asked to pay more for your home heating bills, right? So you're paying more because they're running up their massive profits. Now they're coming to you saying, you know what we really need to do is we need to, even though there's no shortage, right? There's absolutely no shortage of oil. They're just holding back on it. You need to not drive as fast. And please don't take a summer vacation this year. All of that, because, we're just in the supply crunch right now.
Well, there are some other, they unveiled this 10-point action plan, which includes working from home, if that's possible, at least 3 days a week, alternate private car access to roads in large cities. That is being done in certain cities, most of them European at this point. Increase car sharing, use high-speed trains, avoid business air travel. So if you don't absolutely have to have an in-person conference, let's just not do that anymore. And continue to adopt electric and more energy efficient vehicles. Of course, most states have their targets set for 2030, 2035, 2040 for full electric vehicle adoption, but that's not going to get us very far this summer.
No, I just find it incredibly insulting and sort of and hypocritical that these companies, the International Energy Association, wants you to make sure that you're not going to take vacations.
But can't you also see that as a glass half full type of suggestion? Because all of these things are good for the planet and do help reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. So are you just feeling pissy about it? Or are these things that we can sustain and actually change our world.
Yeah, it's fine. It's easy for us to say though, like that's the thing. It's easy for us to sit there and tell people like, just change your life right now. Just change everything about your life while these rich people are making
But we need to
massive
change
profits.
our lives.
Yeah, I get that. We do need to. I do, but like I just find it. I don't know how to describe this. I find it so insulting that these people can sort of dictate millions of Americans' lives who they don't have money to go out and buy an electric car right now. They don't, they're just 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And so they have the their dollar is not going anywhere nearly as far, right? All of this suffering is that because of these elites, all of it. All of it is because of the Federal Reserve and these elites who run the show.
But these actually are ways to reduce our dependency on the oil and gas industry.
But there's no shortage of oil. There's no shortage of oil. And so what you're asking people to do is to change their lives even more right now when they already have. How much more do these people have to give these global oligarchs and elites right now? I mean, the Federal Reserve knew what they were doing by pumping all sorts of fake money into the economy. The United States economy is $30 trillion in debt. The Federal Reserve continued to pump billions of dollars to Wall Street, while average Americans, the value of U.S. dollar is now plummeted, right, to its lowest levels in 40 years. They're spending an additional $300 per month now on just basic home necessities and items and gas prices. And now you're asking people, I find it so smug, I guess, is my problem.
And they've been doing this for a long time. It's like so well orchestrated on the side of the elites, where they put the onus of fixing these problems on the average citizen. Like I like to compare it to like in the 90s when they were doing like the big push of like turn off your faucet when you're brushing your teeth because you got to conserve this water. But the amount of water saved doing that is nowhere near the amount of freshwater mining like Nestle is involved in.
Yes.
So they want to put the guilt on us. It's on the everyday average citizen.
Right.
So that we bear the shame for their shameful practices.
And Kamala Harris said that to us.
Well, that's well said.
A few weeks ago, right? A few weeks ago, Kamala Harris said the same thing. We're standing up for Western democracy, right? That's why you need to pay more at the pump. Mm-hmm. This is Putin's price hike. So it's incumbent upon you to pay more at the pump so that you can support Western democracy, Western ideals. On a day when Zelensky bans 11 opposition political parties, nationalizes the state media to hide true stories about what's actually happening inside of that country, so that actual stories about Ukrainian citizens being beaten by their own military doesn't get out. You don't get to hear that. But that's what you're standing for.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kamala and the Biden administration, for lecturing me about what we need to stand for. I need to pay more for gas, I guess, because it's Putin's price hike. Again, this is the kind of crap that they're spoon feeding us. And I'm sick and tired of these like Western elites thinking that people are stupid and they're going to go along with this. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yes, I understand. I understand what you're saying, that like this is only something that's talking down to a certain class of people because everyone else is still going to take their cruises and their, I don't know, oligarch cruise liners and whatever. I get it. But still, it's not terrible for us to just slow the heck down a little bit, especially when you consider how traffic deaths have skyrocketed since the pandemic. So we can slow down, but not because they told us to.
Yeah, but I mean, if that was the intent, then this wouldn't come with that helping of guilt along with it. It's like there's a difference between like putting it in the perspective of like we need to do these things for the betterment of the planet and us specifically as a species, because I mean, let's face it, the planet will keep spinning long after we're gone. So what we're talking about is like keeping ourselves alive on this planet. And so if they were housing it like that, like we all need to come together with like that positive message, that's one thing, but that's not what this is. This is guilt. This is them throwing the guilt on us so they don't have to feel any of it.
I'd love to hear in our chat this morning, like how many of you are willing, to slow down on the highway, and to not take any kind of vacation. And maybe you can't even afford to take a vacation this summer. So maybe they get the best of both worlds. Like you can't even afford to take a vacation. You can't afford to hit the road anyway because of how expensive things have gotten. But are you willing to sacrifice to support Western democracy and ideals to give up your vacation this summer to support these elites?
Well, I'm willing to speed less, but I never speed really anyway. So
I'd actually prefer. I would love for you to actually go faster.
yes, I can't do that.
It's like driving with Grandma Natalie when we're out on the road. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.